Welcome to Crafty Magic Arts. Today we're going to be revisiting some of my old art and redoing it. Here is Chubby Kitty. This beautiful little piece of work was created back in 2012. He was one of my early sculptures I made from original Sculpey. His tail is cracked, but that's an easy fix, and now I just think he needs some TLC. But before we get going, let's pause for a second. Chubby Kitty was created back before 2012. It was inspired actually by Garfield, who I was obsessed with growing up. But at the same time, also inspired by a very precious kitty of mine, Missy. Missy was our very own Chubby Kitty, and she constantly loved to lay around the house and make the funniest poses. So I actually drew my first Chubby Kitty based on her, but of course the coloring was very different. I went for a yellow and purple motif, mainly because I just loved pastels and I thought it was kind of cute. After that initial drawing, I did actually continue to draw Chubby Kitty in various different poses, especially inspired by my own Chubby Kitty at home. Additionally, I did actually create more sculptures, which I will, or hope, to upgrade in the future as well. I do love Chubby Kitty as a whole, and I do want to continue drawing him, but my own Chubby Kitty did pass away a few years ago, so the inspiration's not quite there, but this is in her memory. I love you, Missy. Now, back to the crafting. As mentioned before, my Chubby Kitty is definitely broken and does need some TLC. But the big thing I want to do is actually want to upgrade the color. I do love the yellow, it's very nostalgic, but I think it's time I actually change that. But we'll get to that soon. Using my foam, I then brace my kitty so I can actually super glue him together. This is just a quick little thing. I do get glue on my fingers, which is why the paper towel does not want to leave my fingers, and that's not frustrating at all. Here I'm using my activator, and now it is set. I do start with my modeling compound just to have it fill in the cracks. I kind of don't wait for it to dry properly, so I don't really use it properly, but it is there just to help with filling in those gaps. And now I'm moving on to my gloves, which means Epoxy Sculpt. This is a two-part epoxy that dries hard over time. It actually cures, it's a better way of saying it. It's not air dry, it is a curing time. So mixing the two halves together, I get the putty I need, and then I move on to working on the tail. Shoving it between the crack here, it is already glued to the position I want, but I can actually get it like more smooth and a better transition overall. At some point or another I do sand it, but I don't show it on the video. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I do want to move ahead and start painting. Now, one thing that's worth noting for this particular piece is this is actually a birthday present, and I waited until last minute to work on it. So, I am in full go mode. And so while the tail is curing, I can actually begin painting because it's off to the side. So I actually start with that right away. I am decided by my husband's recommendation to do like a bluey purple. So I bust out my two colors and I mix them together in this brand new sealable container for paint. I actually got inspired by Mariah Elizabeth, not gonna lie. I found this on, I want to say Wish, and it's awesome. Highly recommend. But yeah, here I am mixing the colors still together in my little pods and getting ready to paint my Chubby Kitty. Now usually I do gesso my pieces first, and I kind of regretted not doing it for this one, but he was already kind of primed with the color already, so I wasn't too worried. I didn't want to add too many layers because I did have to worry about the tail afterwards. I actually specifically avoid that area because it's not dry yet, it's not cured, so I am just painting layers around the body as I do it, and the yellow worked out well enough. You'll notice that I actually bring up my dryer quite a bit, and that's because, like I said, I waited till last minute to work on this piece, and so I had to kind of rush, and my heat gun was used a lot in between, like a lot. I'm not sure how many coats I actually put on Chubby Kitty, but it was a lot. That's just because it's craft paint, and it does require a few more layers. And I'm still avoiding the tail at this point, because this is the night before the birthday, so I need to work on that. I do want to work on the bottom a little bit too, so here I am propping up my Chubby Kitty on the foam again, just so I can paint the bottom and get prep for that. I am avoiding my signature though. The original signature is still legitimate. Painting his nose, and then his mouth. This is the next day. I'm actually wearing my hoodie. Hoodies are amazing. Highly recommend, not sponsored, but oh my gosh, I love my hoodie. It's nice and toasty warm. And here I am painting his face back up again, as well as his eyes. He's a very simple design. Honestly, there isn't a lot to add Chubby Kitty. His original was just yellow and a little bit of orange highlights with like the lines and stuff. But I do opt for a little bit more in the sense of color later on. But really his face is very basic. It's pink, black, and white. That's pretty much it. Now here I am getting prepped to add some lines to the back of him. I'm thinking, oh, just straight across. This goes against everything I believe in. I did not use reference, so I had to erase it and actually put another coat of paint to hide the marks that I originally did and then dry it. So here I do have reference off to the side. I think it was on my computer that I'm actually using to have more accurate looking stripes. I do draw them on first and then I paint in the lines afterwards. I want the lines to look organic, but at the same time not realistic. Chubby Kitty is not a realistic kitty. Obviously cats should not get to this size. This is just an exaggerated form, which I find is really fun and very cute. And Missy, by the way, was never that big. just to be clear, she never got that big. She was a chubby kitty, but she wasn't that chubby. Finishing up the stripes on the legs, arms, and tail, I move on to his little belly. It's not pure white, but it's like a really, 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 really light purple. So he does turn out to be a little bit more like a tabby. Here I'm adding his little toe beans. Oh, they're so cute. A little bit of pink here. I think they match his nose very well. And then using my Poscas, I add just the lines to help differentiate his toes. Finally, the tail is getting a coat of paint. And it does take a few coats, but ends up working out quickly because of my heat gun. Heat guns to the rescue. And now his stripes on his tail, finalizing his look. And you're probably wondering why my purple kitty, or even yellow kitty, was inspired by Missy. It's mainly just the form. I just loved the way she sat, but Chubby Kitty is a different cat that was inspired by Missy. Using my pastels, I am now adding some much needed shading in some areas. It just helps give a little bit more depth and dimension. Once the shading is complete, I then seal it with my matte spray to ensure I'm able to move on to the next steps. Like I do with most of my pieces, I do like adding felt to the bottom. This dark blue seemed to be really perfect. However, this particular sheet of felt seemed to be more transparent than usual, but it still works really well. It's good that I had it, and it's always a good idea to use what you already have. Moving on to the underside, I sign it with my new signature, still avoiding the old one. Before actually adding the felt, I do want to add a layer of Mod Podge hard coat onto it. This adds a little extra durability, especially those tiny ears. Also, my hard coat is the most matte top coat I actually have in my arsenal. I find that the spray varnish does leave a little bit more of a sheen. He does still have a sheen. I find that no matter what, you always seem to have that, but this does help a lot. With the top coat dry, I can now move on to actually gluing on the felt. I'm using hot glue for this piece, and while I'm going through, I am specifically avoiding both of the signatures that are on the bottom because I do want to eventually cut them out. That's one of the ways that I end up doing this. It works really well for what I need, and it looks really good in the end. I will say though, I did over glue in some spots. It actually came through the felt. Again, that was because the felt was so thin and slightly transparent, but it's barely noticeable. After it's glued, I can trim away the excess and then move on to actually revealing the signatures. Starting first with the year 22 and then moving on to the 12. With both finally revealed, Chubby Kitty is done. Again. This Chubby Kitty was quite the process. It was done really quickly, probably the tightest timeline I've had on a project in a while, but it was actually really awesome. I was able to pull this off and I was able to give it to its new owner. New owner being my niece, who really, really, really wanted Chubby Kitty. I just couldn't give it to her as it was broken, and I thought, I would love to actually just do something different with it. Instead of just having the yellow, but actually like try something completely new. And I don't regret it. This is a very fun little project that I worked on 10 years ago, and it's good to see life brought back to it. It also brought back some really amazing memories of my dear Missy, and I'm really glad I was able to relive those. So I hope you enjoy seeing Chubby Kitty, and be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day. Bye.